What happens when the world's most powerful tech company finds itself trapped between two economic superpowers? Imagine having the keys to the future of artificial intelligence, but every move you make could spark a global crisis. This is Nvidia's reality, and right now, the stakes have never been higher for the company at the center of the US-China tech war. Picture it, the opening weeks of 2025. Wall Street is buzzing as Nvidia, the king of AI chips, announces quarterly results that smash revenue expectations. The crowd cheers, a $44.1 billion windfall, beating even the wildest forecasts. But just as investors celebrate, a shadow falls over the numbers. New U.S. government orders, signed off by the Trump administration, slap strict export bans on AI chip software to China. In a single headline, Nvidia's earnings high morphs into a warning. What good is building the future if you can't sell it to the world's biggest market? This isn't just about one company's profits or stock price. Under the glittering surface, a high-stakes chess match is unfolding. The world's largest economies are weaponizing technology, leveraging microchips and machine learning as tools of both business and national security. For Nvidia, it's become a high-wire act, balancing explosive growth, government crackdowns, and the pressure to out-innovate rivals from Silicon Valley to Shenzhen. Today, we're diving deep into Nvidia's wild ride through the heart of the US-China tech rivalry and what it means for the future of global AI. By the end, you'll see why what happens to Nvidia will shape the next decade of business, technology, and geopolitics. Let's get into it. First, let's rewind. How did we get here? For decades, the story of technology was written in the labs of American giants: Intel, IBM, later Nvidia, and AMD. Their silicon powered the world, but the world changed. China, once viewed as just a factory for cheap electronics, has transformed into both a voracious consumer and a deadly serious challenger in AI and semiconductor technology. Back in the 2000s, Nvidia was best known for powering video games. But by the late 2010s, a revolution was brewing. Deep learning, AI that mimics the human brain, required massive computing horsepower. Enter Nvidia's graphics processing units, or GPUs. They turned out to be the secret sauce for training AI models. Faster, more energy efficient, and ultimately a gold rush for data centers everywhere. Cue the AI boom. From Tesla's self-driving cars to OpenAI's language models, everyone wanted Nvidia's chips. The company surged past $1 trillion valuation, becoming the ultimate pick-and-shovel provider for the AI gold miners of the 21st century. But there's a twist. Nvidia's biggest customers included companies in China. As of early 2020s, estimates placed China's share of Nvidia's data center revenue at up to 25%. In an AI arms race, that's potentially billions of dollars at risk. Then came a seismic shift. Washington started to view chips not just as business, but as weapons of national security. Fears grew that advanced AI could be turned into cyber weapons, surveillance tools, or even battlefield technology. In 2022 and 2023, the U.S. government, under both Biden and then Trump, rolled out a series of export controls targeting China's access to high-end chip technology. The rules tightened again in 2024 and 2025, targeting both hardware and, crucially, the software that makes AI chips truly powerful. Here's where the real pain sets in for Nvidia. Those export bans forced the company to halt shipments of its most advanced AI chips to China, its second-largest market. The pain is not theoretical. In Q1 2025, Nvidia faced a jaw-dropping $4.5 billion inventory write-down. That's billions of dollars worth of chips sitting idle because they can't be sold where the demand is red hot. And as if that wasn't enough, the competition isn't waiting. China is racing to build its own AI chips. Huawei's Ascend 910B, for example, is emerging as a credible homegrown alternative to Nvidia's flagship A100 processor. At the same time, Chinese tech giants are pouring resources into new semiconductor startups, some with government backing that would make Silicon Valley envious. One forecast says China will invest over $140 billion in domestic chipmaking by 2030. So the question is, can Nvidia keep its edge if it loses access to China? The U.S. government, meanwhile, has its own playbook. The CHIPS Act, signed into law in 2022, unleashed a new arms race, not just in innovation, but in subsidies. $39 billion in manufacturing incentives, $13.2 billion for R&D and workforce development. The goal? Bring semiconductor manufacturing back to the U.S., create jobs, and protect American technological leadership. In theory, everyone wins, except for the companies caught in the crossfire. Jensen Huang, Nvidia's charismatic CEO, hasn't minced words. In a recent interview, he blasted U.S. export controls. U.S. export controls are a failure and harm American companies more than China. He's not alone. Industry leaders and Wall Street analysts warn that cutting off access to China could cost U.S. chipmakers tens of billions of dollars in lost sales, slow innovation, and even help China achieve self-sufficiency sooner. On the other side, U.S. officials say the stakes are even bigger. Dewardrick McNeil, a national security expert, puts it bluntly. U.S. semiconductor policy is about protecting America's strategic edge, not just corporate profits. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo reinforces the official line. Our export controls are carefully tailored to protect U.S. national security. But is it working, or is the cure worse than the disease? Some experts, like Paul Triolo of DGA Group, argue that these sanctions have only accelerated China's drive for chip independence. The export controls have incentivized China to become self-sufficient across these supply chains. Others, such as Stephen Azell from ITIF, warn, cutting U.S. companies off from the entire commercial Chinese market is a cure worse than the disease. And as this game of economic chicken unfolds, the pressure on Nvidia is relentless. The company's data center business outside China boomed, over 100% growth year-on-year in Q1 2025. But for how long? Rivals are circling. American competitors smell blood in the water. In China, billions in state funding are targeting next-generation semiconductors, from old-school silicon to revolutionary new gate-all-around GAA transistor technology. The U.S. has signaled it might restrict even this, raising the stakes of the entire conflict. Meanwhile, Nvidia's engineers are in overdrive, reportedly working on a new line of Blackwell AI chips tailored for the Chinese market. Chips that might just squeak through the latest restrictions, at least temporarily. But how long can this game of regulatory cat and mouse really last? It all comes back to a single urgent question. Can Nvidia navigate a geopolitical minefield, hold on to global dominance, and keep innovation alive, without sparking a tech Cold War that could split the digital world in half? The answers aren't simple, because just as Nvidia tries to outrun U.S. regulators and Chinese rivals, fresh export controls are looming. The Biden and Trump administrations are both considering new bans, this time targeting GAA transistor technology, the very heart of future AI chips. If these rules come down, it could push China to double down on homegrown innovation and cut U.S. companies off from the world's fastest-growing tech economy for good. The stakes are existential. What if the world's most advanced AI hardware, once a tool of global collaboration, becomes the front line of a new digital Iron Curtain? And where does that leave Nvidia? Still an undisputed king, or a pawn in something much bigger? In the next half, we'll dig into what's coming next. Is an all-out U.S.-China tech war inevitable? Can Nvidia or any global company find a way through this geopolitical maze? And what would a truly divided world of artificial intelligence actually look like? But before we get there, ask yourself, could the world's most valuable chipmaker become the first global casualty in a clash between superpowers? Or is it on the verge of a comeback that will change not just the future of technology, but the fate of the world economy? In a world shadowed by intensifying U.S.-China rivalry, Nvidia stands at a crossroads where every decision could redefine the future of technology, not just for the company, but for the entire global AI landscape. What happens next? How might the struggle for AI chip supremacy reshape business, geopolitics, and even your daily life? Let's pull back the curtain and explore the possibilities that now loom on the horizon. Imagine a scenario where U.S.-China tensions spiral even further. Each side erects higher barriers, with Washington piling on export restrictions and Beijing pouring billions into homegrown tech champions. Nvidia, once the undisputed king of AI chips, faces a shrinking market in China, a region that was projected to reach $28 billion in AI chip sales by 2025. The numbers already sting. Nvidia's Q1 2025 results revealed a staggering $4.5 billion write-down, all due to unsold inventory stuck behind new regulatory walls. That's not just a blip, it's a warning shot. Meanwhile, over 600 Chinese companies have now landed on the U.S. Entity List, a blacklist that reshapes who Nvidia can do business with, overnight. But at the same time, China's semiconductor ambitions are accelerating. Huawei's Ascend 910B chip, once dismissed as an upstart, is now viewed as a genuine competitor to Nvidia's vaunted A100. With $140 billion in state investment headed toward domestic chip manufacturing by 2030, China's message is clear. We won't be dependent on foreign tech much longer. According to Paul Triolo of DGA Group, the export controls have incentivized China to become self-sufficient across these supply chains. That means the longer the standoff lasts, the faster China races to build its own Nvidia, one wafer at a time. Yet paradoxically, new obstacles can also spark innovation. Nvidia, forever agile, is reportedly developing the next generation of Blackwell AI chips tailored for markets like China. Its data center business outside China? It exploded with over 100% year-over-year growth in Q1 2025, a breathtaking figure that shows how quickly Nvidia can pivot. And there's another twist. While the focus is on AI, Nvidia's automotive division is quietly thriving, with a 10% revenue jump fueled by partnerships with Chinese electric vehicle makers. The walls are going up, but some doors remain open, at least for now. Of course, it's not all about business. These decisions shape the future of AI itself. With supply chains pulled apart, what happens if global research splinters too? Do we see a world with rival standards, rival technologies, and an innovation race hobbled by political friction? Some experts warn that the current approach could backfire. As Stephen Ezel of ITIF observes, cutting U.S. companies off from the entire commercial Chinese market is a cure worse than the disease. Even Jensen Huang, the visionary CEO of Nvidia, didn't mince words. U.S. export controls are a failure and harm American companies more than China. But the U.S. government sees things differently. Gina Raimondo, Secretary of Commerce, has insisted, "Our export controls are carefully tailored to protect U.S. national security." So, we're left at a crossroads with several futures in play. In one, the conflict escalates, leading to a technological Cold War with profound implications for global security and innovation. In another, China cracks the code for semiconductor self-sufficiency, disrupting Nvidia's business and the very structure of the global tech market. Or perhaps, a negotiated truce emerges, one that allows for some level of cooperation, but only under strict, constantly shifting regulations. In this world, adaptability, resilience, and speed become more valuable than ever. But what does all this mean for you, watching at home? Why should the fate of an AI chipmaker matter to anyone outside the boardrooms of Silicon Valley or the policy halls of Beijing? First, consider how AI chips are quietly shaping your world. From the algorithms that curate your newsfeed to the neural networks powering smart healthcare, logistics, and autonomous driving, Nvidia's technology is everywhere, even if you don't see the logo. Supply chain shocks or regulatory choke points don't just affect earnings reports. They shape the speed of medical breakthroughs, the safety of self-driving cars, the price and reliability of consumer devices, and even which countries lead in next-generation industries. Investors and business leaders, take note. The Nvidia story is a lesson in the importance of geopolitical risk management. Are you relying too heavily on any single region or supplier? Do you have contingency plans for a world where global markets fragment overnight? For those dreaming of careers in tech, the message is clear. Adaptability is non-negotiable. Today's AI leader could be tomorrow's also-ran if they fail to innovate, respond to new regulations, or anticipate the next tectonic shift in global politics. Prioritize learning resilient skills, hardware, software, supply chain logistics, and, critically, cross-cultural acumen. Even if you're not in business or tech, there's a civic lesson here. As AI tools become ever more powerful, from deepfakes to autonomous weapons, who controls the chips controls the future. The balance between security and innovation, openness and restriction, affects civil liberties, job opportunities, and the direction of entire societies. For entrepreneurs and innovators, Nvidia's saga raises a crucial challenge. How do you build for a world that might split into rival tech spheres? Dual standards, parallel supply chains, regulatory minefields. The survivors will be those who can build bridges and navigate barriers in real time. And for consumers, expect prices and availability to shift. Disruption in chip supply can translate into shortages of electronics, slower rollouts of new features, and higher costs, sometimes suddenly. Keep an eye on where your devices come from and which companies are still able to source cutting-edge chips. Now let's pull it all together. Can Nvidia survive and thrive in this fractured world, or is it staring down the end of its global leadership? Let's be clear. The company is facing unprecedented headwinds, regulatory, competitive, and geopolitical. Billions lost to inventory write-downs and the growing shadow of Chinese self-sufficiency are real threats. Yet, Nvidia brings formidable advantages to the table, a culture of relentless innovation, an ability to pivot between markets, and a brand that's become synonymous with AI itself. Its data center business is booming outside China. Its research pipeline, like the upcoming Blackwell AI chips, shows it's not standing still. According to CNBC's Jim Cramer, Nvidia's long-term growth story remains intact despite the China headwinds. In other words, the company may be bruised, but it is anything but beaten. It's possible, perhaps likely, that we're headed toward a world of divided tech ecosystems, each with its own standards and champions. In such a world, Nvidia may have to accept smaller pieces of the pie in some regions, while doubling down elsewhere. Survival will hinge on speed, flexibility, and the willingness to reinvent. Here's a secret few realize. Crisis breeds clarity. Each regulatory blow has forced Nvidia to unearth new markets and applications. Think automotive AI, life sciences, decentralized data centers, even as the old guard closes ranks. The very act of being squeezed is forging a stronger, more adaptable company. So, will Nvidia lose its crown? It might, if it fails to evolve. But if history is any guide, the true leaders in technology are those who turn obstacles into launch pads. And here's the wildest part. The real AI race may have barely started. Whoever wins, Nvidia, Huawei, or a yet unknown upstart, will shape not just profits but the entire architecture of the digital age. If you found this analysis eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you never miss our deep dives into the tech stories defining our future. What do you think? Is Nvidia poised to bounce back stronger, or are we witnessing the end of an era?